I don't know if I had any family in Bialystok. I might have, because my name was Greenhuis, and there were a lot of Greenhuis, especially here. But I found more Greenhuises in Bialystok than anywhere else, actually. But I don't know any specific connection. My Greenhuises were from Zhelikov in Yiddish. My name is Abe Greenhouse. I'm here in Bialystok researching the role of revolutionaries in Bialystok and around nearby towns like Krynki during the 1905 revolution. And so I'm here exploring former police stations, former prisons, and other locations that figured into the revolution of 1905-1907. And we'll see what we find. On Yom Kippur, 1904, an anarchist in Bialystok named Nisan Farber, in revenge for workers being beaten by strikebreakers at the factory of Avram Kagan, he stabbed the factory owner in the neck as he was leaving the synagogue. It would have been the old synagogue before the new one was built, and about 1 month later, there was a meeting of anarchists, and it was raided by the police. And in revenge for the police raid, in which many people were arrested and beaten, Farber decided to throw a bomb into the police station. And we're not sure exactly which police station it was, but it might have been the one on Warszawska Street today. And he himself was killed in throwing this bomb. His name was Nisan Farber. There were so many other anarchists, Jewish ones and others active in Bialystok, like Aaron Yelin, Moshe Spindler, and many others. And I'm trying to locate where I can the graves of these people. They were mostly killed by police, so they might not have had normal burials. Some of them were executed, of course, be buried in a mass grave. But those who were killed individually, I'm hoping that maybe we could eventually find them here. Well, maybe we'll find the answers here.
What is wrong with our world?
It's parts of it are certainly very well organized, but organized to achieve a goal which is not really in the interests of the majority of people. Society is organized in a way that wealth becomes concentrated amongst a smaller and smaller group of people, and that the majority of the people grow poorer and less able to have a good life. I believe in the attainability of a system of society without government, without artificial hierarchies, without one group of people being above another, in which everyone is truly equal. I'm mostly active in human rights work. Well, my great-grandparents were part of the Bund, so they were different, but the anarchists in the Bund were always fighting. So I feel sort of like a connection to the revolution through my great-grandparents, who I don't think they were extremely active. They basically they would give away pamphlets and leaflets for the Bund in Łódź, and also, at one point, my great-grandfather actually rescued Baruch Vladek, who is a big leader in the Bund, who later became the founder of the Jewish Labor Committee in the U.S. Oh, so there's the pogrom monument. Some of the people who were killed and whose names are on there were anarchists who were helping to defend the city, and I know the names.
Who will find the first? He is Jewish.
Basically, they were two anarchists from Bialystok. They took a train to come over and see if they could help the defense. But of course, at the train station, some of the worst killings of the pogrom happened, and so they were killed at the train station. The story that I read originally is that Aron Yelin threw a bomb at a group of police, and Esther Ritkin, who was a member of the Bund, was accidentally killed in the explosion. But the story I read elsewhere in some Bund publications actually was that she was accidentally killed by a police bullet that was aimed at an anarchist bomb thrower. Krynki played an important role in the 1905 revolution, actually. It was kind of unprecedented. When news of the railway workers' strike in response to Bloody Sunday reached Krynki, a joint call was put out by the Bund and by the Polish Socialist Party for demonstrations. And so workers in Krynki, of which there were thousands, held a massive demonstration here, January 30th, 1905. They ended up, they marched to the post office, and they cut the telegraph lines linking the town to the outside world. In the post office, they took about 300 blank passports, which were used for the next few years to smuggle revolutionaries out of the empire. They went to the Monopolka, the state government monopoly liquor store, and they burned all the alcohol. They burned portraits of the Tsar, and generally had themselves a pretty great time for about 3 days. Basically, all of the there were only a handful of police based in Krynki, and they all fled in terror, basically, as did probably some of the manufacturers, like Nachmanschul, Knashinsky, and they fled in the direction of Sokolka, where there was a military regiment based, and from there they also telegraphed the governor, and the governor in Grodno dispatched soldiers to Krynki, and so on the third day of the rebellion, they sent in two units of soldiers to arrest everyone, and there wasn't. A couple people were killed, fortunately not very many during that episode, but many people were arrested and sent to prison in Grodno. In the Krynki Yizkor book, they describe a lot of this history, and that's where I first learned of it, and I've managed to corroborate this information using Russian sources and others. So, I mean, there were a number of anarchists here, a few dozen, I would estimate. Benjamin Friedman Yumka was probably the most famous one because of his later escapades. The writer Yakov Kreplak was also, he wasn't from Krynki originally, but he lived here for a while, and he later went to the U.S. And was a writer for Der Vorwärts and of children's stories. The anarchists appealed to me because they were really they were interested in getting to the root causes of social injustice and inequality. The anarchists really they resented the Bund's bureaucratic nature. To many anarchists, the Bund was just interested in replacing one set of oppressive institutions with a different set of hierarchies. Perhaps it would be better than the Russian Empire under the Tsar, but the anarchists were really interested in creating a flat-level egalitarian society, whereas the Bund was more interested in pursuing the dictatorship of the proletariat. I feel a lot anarchist, actually, because that's how I've really identified myself politically since I was about 14 or 15 years old. So, I mean, I connect to the radical Jewish revolutionary culture of this part of the world circa 1905. I have that connection through my great-grandparents, who, of course, were Bundists. But I feel like, politically, I connect more with the people who are active here in Krynki and in Bialystok.
What you learn from anarchist history? What kind of lesson you take? To
be fearless, to the extent that I try to be. I mean, these are people who really live their lives as if there was no tomorrow, and for many of them, there was no tomorrow. And these people, for the most part, they were all killed by police or executed by the end of 1907. Like there were very few anarchists left in the Russian Empire after 1907. They had the upper hand in 1905 and the revolution in general, and then 1906 it was more of the tide began to turn, and then 1907 really the revolution was largely wiped out, and of course like the other parties like went into exile and whatnot. But the anarchists weren't as inclined to flee, and so I mean some of them did go abroad to Paris and other places that were centers of Russian radical emigration, but for the most part they fought and died here.
Kupujemy książkę Bakunina. Gdzie ona jest? No niech pan szuka.
Co, o anarchistach w Krynki?
Tak, no anarchistach w ogóle.
Która? Proszę.
Niech pan pokaże, co pan ma.
Bakuninow Anarchii, Nestor Machno, Kropotkin, Chomsky. History of the Polish Anarchism. Chyba it's mine. But for example for you maybe. It's interesting, it's one in Polish, it's origins of the history of Polish anarchist movement.
Oh, fantastic! That's fun.
Bialystok.
That's fantastic.
It's anarchism and anarchist Bakunins. Very interesting. The history of the Polish revolutionary movement in Russia.
Pan też jest anarchistą.
Yes, it's Ludwik Kulczycki. This man. He's the author of the first history of Polish anarchist movement.
Never died. He is still alive in Krynki.
Senior revolution.
Is it anarchist or is this just general socialist?
Not only anarchist. Okay. Anarchist, social, sure, emigration, Tsarat, jail, Tsarat, Russian terrorist, Stepniak Krawczyński. They died in London. It's independent.
Yeah.
2 articles.
My
hero is Niomka the Anarchist.
Oh, that's what I'm writing about.
This is fantastic.
I'm hoping to make a film about Niomka. I went to the train station.
It's romance, revolution.
I went to Slonim and I went to Ozjarnitsa and I went along the tracks to find the spot where it happened. Wow. Somebody else knows this story, finally.